There's a question that I have heard asked so often lately. The only thing that I can think of to describe why so many people are asking it is because they hear other people asking it. So it's become kind of part of our group mind. And yet it's a question that when we ask it, it doesn't make us look good, and we don't even realize it. Stay tuned, and I'm going to tell you what that question is and hopefully encourage you to find a few other better questions to ask instead. Hi, my name is Shawn Sommerkamp, and this is Motivationeer Christian Coaching. Okay, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to get right to what that question is. That's when we ask the question, does that make sense? We don't even mean it as a question. It's almost like a long, we explain something, and when we're done explaining it, we wrap up that little explanation with a very quick, does that make sense? This doesn't make us look very good. In fact, the things that it does make us good, I jotted them down because I didn't want to forget them because there's so many of them. When we are saying that question, what we're non-verbally communicating it is, I'm insecure about this conversation in general, or I'm insecure about the topic of this conversation. It communicates, I believe I'm dumb. I'm maybe expressing false humility. Or how about this one? I'm not at all paying attention to your body language, so I'm asking if it makes sense because I can't get a read on you. When we do it, it ends up putting the onus of understanding the context or the content on the other person. We're leaving it up to them to fill in whatever they're missing by asking us questions if it doesn't make sense. It's almost like an intellectual laziness on our part. It's not a good way to get a read of somebody. In fact, it's communicating we can't read them. So what do we want to ask instead? How do we want to handle this? First of all, I think be confident about what we're saying. Confident enough that we believe what we're saying can make sense and we have a conviction or an understanding about it. But if, let's say, you're explaining something and you read the person and you're wondering, okay, am I losing them? We can say, what are your thoughts about this? Or I'd like to hear your comments, instead of asking a question. The does that make sense, by the way, is a yes-no question, which I recommend all the time. Let's not do that. Don't ask why or yes-no questions. It doesn't enrich the conversation. In fact, it stalls it. It puts people into left hemisphere analytical thinking. Instead, make a comment or a request. What are your thoughts about this? I'd love to hear how this comes across to you. Let me know your input. Sometimes I say, what do you think about this? Or very quickly, if you're a client of mine, you've heard me say this a billion times, I say, okay, what are your thoughts? What I'm doing there is asking them to actively engage in the conversation by asking them their thoughts. And I do it with that tone because I want them to engage with me. Now, if we're going on and on and on and on and rambling, and we know that we're losing the person, and we think we might have lost them, when we say, does that make sense? They're going to go, man, I just want this conversation over. When I started hearing people do this for some reason way more often in the beginning of this year than ever I've heard before, ever, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a video. And in prepping for this video, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to see if this is even something that other people have noticed. And man, do a search on Google, does that make sense? And see, Harvard is writing about this extensively. I didn't read it because I didn't want it to influence what I'm sharing with you now. Let's not ask, does that make sense? It means we're not really tied into what's important for the other person. We're not being intellectually responsible. Instead, if we want to get an active listening feedback from the person we're speaking to, tell them, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Or we can say, what do you think about that? Let me know what you think. Okay? This is a way to keep us engaged, not distance ourselves, and it'll enhance our executive presence. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for 2 new videos each week. Tell me in the comments below about your career situation, and I'll make a video for you with a shout out. You can also become a member at Motivationeer.com. Your career is not just a way to make a living, it's a way to transform the world.